January and February are the coldest months of the year in New York, generally in the Northeast. There will be some freak warm days here and there, but there will be more cold days than warm days. And lately, the entirety of the United States has been cold, and New York is not an exception. I made an entire video on how to deal with cold in New York and linked it as in the description below. But despite the cold, February is still not a bad time to visit New York. Flights are going to be cheaper, hotels are going to be cheaper, just because the holidays are over and there's not a lot of outdoor activities. But that doesn't mean there's nothing to do in New York City. So in this video, we are going to cover some things to do that will spark ideas on how to spend February in New York City. So welcome to this month's edition of 8 things to do in New York City in the month of February. Restaurant Week is in February. It actually started January 16th, so there's still time to enjoy Restaurant Week. But what is Restaurant Week? Restaurant Week happens twice a year, one in the spring and one in the winter. And right now we're having Winter Restaurant Week. What happens is participating restaurants will have a special menu that's prefixed. It will include probably an appetizer, a main, and a dessert, maybe more, maybe less, and it's at a fixed price. And the price would be lower than what they would normally charge for those menu items. So it's a great time to try out new restaurants or try an expensive restaurant that you've been wanting to try out but don't want to cash out the full amount. Not all restaurants in New York will be participating, but a lot of them will. Most of the participating restaurants will be in Manhattan, particularly Midtown and Lower Manhattan. But the event is citywide, so you may see other restaurants participating in other boroughs. The Lunar New Year falls on February 10th. Chinatown will have a firecracker ceremony and cultural festival on that day, and the famous Chinatown Parade is on February 25th at 1 p.m. Chinatown is in downtown or Lower Manhattan. The parade starts on Mott and Canal Streets, goes along Mott Street to Kim Lau Square, then turns to East Broadway, ending at Forsyth and Eldridge Streets. And you can get to Chinatown with these trains. And since it's the Year of the Dragon, I'm giving away a free calendar to anybody who purchases something at the Urban Caffeine store. Any purchase, I'll include a free calendar while supplies last. I still have a few of them. I designed this calendar myself. In the background is a picture of the Manhattan skyline from the East River. So there you go, free calendar with every order at the Urban Caffeine shop. Outside of February 10th and February 25th, there will be other events in February that celebrate the Lunar New Year. Also remember, there's more than one Chinatown in New York. There's a bunch of them. The Chinatown in Manhattan happens to be the mainstream one, the more popular one among tourists, but my personal favorite is the one in Flushing. There's also one in Brooklyn and other places too throughout New York City. Leading up to Valentine's Day is New York Fashion Week from February 9th to the 14th. Although Fashion Week is mainly for industry professionals, there are still plenty of things for the general public. Think ticketed shows, pop-ups, panel discussions, and parties. Also, the streets of New York become a fashion show in of itself during Fashion Week. So if you love street photography or fashion photography, now's a good time to whip out that camera and just hang out the streets of New York. I would hang out in the neighborhoods of the Meatpacking District, Soho, and Tribeca. You can get to these neighborhoods with the 123, ACE, and RW trains. February is known for Valentine's Day. New York will be littered with events and things to do for Valentine's Day. Think museums, parks, restaurants, bars, community organizations. So look out for things to do and special events on Valentine's Day. But something you might be interested in accompanying your New Yorking adventures on Valentine's Day are these MILF and DTF mugs. MILF, man, I love funiculars, and DTF, ditch the freeway. These are great Valentine's Day gift for urbanists and transit lovers. These designs are also available as stickers. Get these and other products at shop.urbancaffeine.com. New York has over 100 museums. Some of them are very inexpensive. Some of them are kind of want to think twice before you want to commit. But since we're talking about trying to stay indoors because it's frigid cold outside, why not visit the largest art museum in the country? The museum to highlight this month is the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which has over 2 million objects. Could you imagine that? 2 million objects. That's a lot of things. But whatever your jam, this museum probably will have it. They've got ancient ruins, a Japanese courtyard, an armor room, an indoor plaza, art in any era. This museum has got you covered. You can spend days in this museum. Sometimes I go to the Met, I spend 5 hours there and I'm only in 1 or 2 sections of it. It's something that you can go there, go to this museum over and over again, and you will not run out of things to see. And if you live in New York State, it's pay what you wish. Pay what you wish is exactly that. You can pay any amount to enter. It could be $1, it could be $50, whatever you want. The Met Museum is in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. You can get there by taking the 456, or even a further walk is the Q train. And while you're in the area, down the street is the Guggenheim, and there's also Central Park. And across from Central Park is the Natural History Museum. A hallmark activity whenever you're in New York City is to watch a Broadway. And that's a great thing to do in February because it's another indoor thing to do. And there are several ways to watch a Broadway for cheap. And when I say cheap, you know, I'm talking like $20, $30, under $50. And off-Broadways will be cheaper than Broadways. The difference between an off-Broadway and a Broadway is that off-Broadways are smaller theaters. It's the seating capacity. So ways to get cheap tickets, there's 30, under 35, where you can get tickets for $30 if you're under 35 years old. There are also same-day tickets at this ticket booth in Times Square, and there are lotteries. And yes, people do win the lottery. I've won the lottery twice. I watched Wicked and Shucked for maybe $35 each. Right now, the musical that I really want to go to and everybody's telling me I should go to is Sweeney Todd, because the singer is Josh Groban and he has an amazing voice. I've listened to his albums like many years ago, and his voice is just phenomenal. And so I'm excited to watch Sweeney Todd at some point. Another one that is on my list to see is Hadestown, which I heard great things about. Really, there's a lot of things on Broadway right now that are worth watching. All Broadway theaters are in the theater district in New York, near Times Square in Midtown Manhattan. You can get there by taking these trains. As for off-Broadways, they're located in different parts of Manhattan, not just the theater district. As of recording this video, it's already snowed once in New York, but it was only 2 inches and it turned to like ice and just nasty stuff. I heard somewhere in a podcast, it's been over 700 days since New York has experienced snow. And then it snowed and it's just paltry. I would like a foot of snow or 2 feet of snow, because with that much snow, it's one of the best times to go to Central Park. Central Park is gorgeous after a snowstorm. It's quiet, peaceful, and unreal. But if it doesn't snow, I still recommend Central Park. The ice rink is still up, so you can go ice skating. And there's also the Central Park Zoo. They have penguin feeding and sea lions. Central Park Zoo also has a 4D theater, and a 4D theater is basically a 3D theater with some sensors. The fourth element are sensors, like your seat vibrating. Central Park is smack in the middle of Manhattan. Depending on where you want to go, there are train stations along its perimeter. Central Park Zoo is here, and the ice rink is here, and these are your nearest trains. Lastly, if you're a sports fan, it's NBA season. Comment below if you're a New York Knicks fan or a Brooklyn Nets. Personally, I'm not into basketball that much. I'm big into football and tennis. If you're a Patreon subscriber or YouTube member, you've probably seen me in my 49ers jersey. But even if you're not a basketball fan, it's still a fun experience to go to an NBA game, even just once. I know people who are not really big onto basketball, they go to an NBA game and they have a lot of fun. It's kind of like going to a Mets game or a Yankees game, even though you're not into baseball. It's just the atmosphere of it all. Even if it's just to say you've been to an NBA game. NBA in New York is held at 2 locations, either at Madison Square Garden in Manhattan or Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Both are highly accessible by public transit. And that's a wrap. I hope you have gotten some good ideas on how to spend February in New York City. And if you have other things to add for the community to know about, just comment down below. And don't miss out on these exclusive MILF and DTF mugs and stickers. And of course, Patreon and YouTube members always get 15% off whenever you shop at shop.urbancaffeine.com. On top of that, I publish every week on Patreon and to YouTube members. So even if I don't publish regularly on YouTube, I still have a weekly vlog that I share exclusively with members. So check that out at patreon.com/urbancaffeine. With that, thank you all so much for watching, and until the next video, happy New Yorking.